welcoming each and everyone who is actually listening to this particular episode of Recruitment. We are now hosting something with a kind of a different heading, Unearth Unconventional Tactics for Talent Trawling. So when we say this, Unearth is actually trying to discover. Unconventional is, are we actually doing something different from the way we are actually been doing it the conventional form? And throughout the talent search, what all things that we actually do. So this is a very interesting, exciting topic. So to discuss this topic, we have three of the industry experts with us. They are going to join us in the next few seconds with us. With this, I would like to welcome Ms. Renu Bora from DB Shankar. She's in the industry for the past, she's possessing almost about 23 plus years of experience with 13 years in the same organization of DB Shankar. Rich experience in the HR domain. We would like to invite Mr. J. Subramaniam from Keller, India. He possesses almost of 24 years of experience and 4 years he's been with Keller. We also have Mr. Suhas Atma from EVA and IoT Technology Enterprise. So he possesses almost of 25 years of experience and almost for the past 5 years with the same organization. With this, I would request maybe each one of you to just give a quick intro. That will actually help for the audience to actually understand better. Then we'll get on to the discussion topic.
Renu here, Renu Bora from DB Shankar. It's a pleasure to be here. I had HR function for DB Shankar, which is into supply chain and logistics. And I have around 25 years of experience in HR. I look forward to a very interesting session today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Renu.
Okay, so should I go again next?
Yeah.
So hi, my name is Subramaniam. I have worked again similar to Renu with about 25 years of experience. And I have worked with organizations. I started my career with GE. I worked with Philips. I worked with Infosys, Vodafone. In my last assignment before Keller, I was also heading the HR for Gati KWE, which is the logistics space. And right now I work with Keller. I take care of the HR, but I'm also responsible for the sustainability and ethics and compliance at Keller. And this is again a new industry. This is a geotechnical engineering organization. I take care of India and the neighboring countries. So I'm thankful to you at TeamLease and also my fellow panelists for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Subramaniam.
Hi, I'm Suhas and come with 25 years of experience in HR domain. I spent long years in terms of handling talent acquisition, both for the manufacturing facilities and IT and ITES. I've seen a large-scale growth of organizations from 41 employees to 15,000, 20,000 employees in a span of 12 months' time. These are all lateral hires and did a lot of campus recruitment of the 20,000 plus people. With that background, I come to this table with conversation with TeamLease on the future trends and what is unconventional way that we really look at our recruitment in future.
Thank you so much, Mr. Suhas. It's my turn as well. I'll just take about 30 seconds. My name is Suburatinam. I head the strategy function for TeamLease Staffing Services. Overall, I possess about 25 plus years of experience. And this is the second industry domain. Earlier, I was actually serving almost 20 plus years with telecom. And I'm going to be your moderator for the day. So with this, I'll kickstart our discussion topic. So while the topic is like very strategic, this is all going to be focused on the recruitment part. There is one favorite statement that I always use. In a factory model, what goes in as an input actually comes in as an output. So when we actually are into the people, dealing with people, when we have the recruitment processes and things set right, the output of the organization will be absolutely getting the things right. So with this, maybe my first question is to Ms. Renu. In terms of people, how do you actually identify and source people for bulk requirements? Because DB Shankar is into logistics and bulk requirement is your way of your life. How do you actually do that? And maybe adding on to this, what kind of a diversity that you see over there?
Yeah, thanks for this question. Yes, we do planned hiring and we also do bulk hiring. And not that we do bulk hiring always. We do bulk hiring when we sign up with a big customer and we have a new facility, say a new warehouse facility, or we have a new lane for land transportation. And then we sign up with a new customer. And when we are onboarding the customer, definitely we have to go for bulk hirings. Generally, what happens when we are onboarding a new customer, there is a pre-planning stage where we know that, what is the kind of hiring, what is the kind of deployment we will have, what is the number, from where we are going to hire the number, and so on. So we have a blueprint ready with us for various job roles, the reporting relationship, the job specifications, and so on. But then, while it is easier to listen to this, everything happens maybe at times at a very short span, and we have to immediately scale up. And scaling up is where we would say that we do bulk hiring, and scaling up is required. So even if we are well prepared, it definitely ends up to a lot of stress in the system, which we take as a challenge. And we sign up with vendors who we find have high capability around that area and in those roles and in those specific customers' domain. So that is the beauty of, or the challenge that the HR should have, that we need to know the right vendors and signing up with them, giving a proper contract with the vendors to ensure that there is scaling up at the right time, and there is no slippage. And most of the customers insist that a workforce also comes with proper background verification. So to ensure that workforce comes on time, they are properly having background verification done, they are skilled up, there's a basic training given to them, and basic orientation is given to them, is all what we do. We also do walk-ins at times. We do walk-ins in a big number, where a lot of involvement, a lot of pre-planning is done. So the bulk hiring generally is done through these two routes. How do we ensure diversity? And that is what I'm saying, that and this means we have to do a lot of planning, because so that we are able to hire the right kind of people, we are able to have diversity. At times there are customers who insist, like we had a customer who insisted that all your forklift operators should be women. And this requirement was a very difficult requirement for us, because in that particular location, we never thought that we'll be able to have women as forklift operator, and it was a remote location. Then since we were signing up with the customer, we knew this, and we signed up with another agency which was into skilling of women on this area, on forklift operations. And we had a sizable number of women trainees who were trained, first of all identification, then training, then having them in the talent pipeline kind of thing, then orientation of them to work and be open. And also it involves some kind of orientation to their families also, so that they are open to see their women folks going and doing this kind of work, which is considered to be a man's domain. So these are some interesting areas. So it depends upon the customer's requirement, and diversity. Being a front runner, we would like to definitely have diversity. And unless we do it pre-planned, we will not be able to ensure that we have diverse and equal opportunity kind of a scenario is there.
Yeah, I think it was great to know, specifically in terms of forklift operators with women. I don't think I've ever heard with any.
True.
Yeah, that's some, because wherever organizations which have opted for a women workforce or diverse, it's a normal work, maybe a helper or technical assistants, those kind of profiles. But yeah, this is something really interesting. And when you say that, okay, the skilling of them is actually much required. Yeah, it's so any feedback from any insights from Mr. Suhas or Mr. Subramanian?
No, I agree with what you just told. I think it was great to hear that, there is so much of focus on diversity, not only from DB Shankar, but also the clients that DB Shankar is bringing in they're trying to, and I think it is also very interesting the way you kind of had a challenge and you stood up to the challenge by finding a way and a solution for your client. So that's awesome. So thanks for sharing those insights with us.
Thank you.
So, has anything from your end?
I think it's very important both for the corporates as well as their related customers to keep looking at options. Today, from the recruitment perspective, is how you're trying to optimize each of your sourcing funnels. I mean, it's just not limited to consultants or advertisements or job portal. Today, there were multiple NGOs and not-profit organizations and who are working on Skill India programs, and I mean they're doing at district level and rural level. It's important to really tap on those potentials to see what can be done. I mean, as I said, we do a lot of finishing school programs for IITs, NITs, and RDCs. So we have to really look at our finishing school programs for skills and through Skill India. And it is commendable to see that some of the corporates have taken the first steps towards that. And that's a good source. And it's a way to really push India ahead for skilled resources.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, Mr. Suhas. In fact, one thing that I can also notice is that with my experience, somehow or the other, European nations actually prefer this, and wherever they are actually spreading, somehow the organization which are based out of Europe, actually I've seen the percentage, and they give more focus on towards that.
Correct. You're right. In fact, both of us have worked with Vodafone, and we understand how much of importance Vodafone used to give for diversity. So,
Great. So now, Mr. Suhas, I think when you spoke about, when we were appreciating about the diversity and other stuff, we were also touching upon blue collar with Ms. Renu. Now, is there a shortage that you feel that, okay, there is a problem in the country in terms of talent pool? What are your perspectives on it?
That's a question which I would like to ask this fraternity again. In a country of 1.3 to, 130 to 140 billion, do we really have dearth of talent? Do we really have dearth of skills? Are we really doing enough to, exploit our sources, our funnels of skills and talents coming in through? It is very, very important. And for long years, we depended on advertising, and and then we found it very cumbersome to open each envelope and read the resumes and shortlist the resumes and etc. Then we moved on to having consulting firms to do that work for us as a corporates, and they also found it cumbersome and not really efficient and effective to talk to every candidate who applied for a job. Then came about job portals and database management systems of resumes and things. And now we are talking about AI implementation. While the technology and processes are evolving, our approach is evolving. Are we able to read all the 1,000 CVs that comes to us? Are we able to identify the key skills that sometimes it may not require for that particular job you're looking for, but may be required for some future needs of an organization? Are we training our recruiters to go beyond using AI? Are they getting expertise in prompt engineering? If your prompt engineering is not efficient, your AI will just do keyword search of the resumes. So I think the challenges that we really need to really look at is, ability to really read through the resumes that comes in. Maybe even after 1 week, 10 days, there would be some passive job seekers who apply almost, sometimes you get resumes after 3 weeks, 4 weeks of an advertisement, but still reading those resumes and seeing how well we fit into the organization is a key part of it. What skills or what competencies of this can be required for the organization? That's the first. I would see that we don't read all resumes. We don't explore all the resumes. Now we use AI. Are we putting right prompts, in AI? It's not the keyword search, but the right prompt designing of the AI, because AI is as much as the input that you give it, the output, that's what it's going to give. So prompt engineering for recruiters is a key aspect of it. And the third one is Skill India program. for logistics, supply chain, for production, quality control, and a lot of the blue collar work. The Skill India is really doing a tremendous work. I mean, the last 6 years, they claim to have trained close to about 4 crores plus people in these kind of skills. So are we saying there's a real dearth of talent, or are we short circuiting our process? That's a question every company and every recruiter has to really look through and say, how do we make our talent supply that much more stronger? How do we really utilize our tools, our skills and ability to make the organization feel that there is a talent supply and which can happen continuously? And we are progressing. I mean, look at our our GCC and GIC and SSM. In a span of 15 years, we have about 1,266,000 resource capabilities that we really build in GCCs in the shared services segment. So I don't really see, honestly, there's a dearth of talent. It's a question of the corporates who feel that they should really check through their recruitment process and the sourcing process.
No, it was absolutely completely a new perspective that you shared, Mr. Suhas, because you touched upon from the basic initial days of how recruitment was done, then how the consultancy agencies have come in, and then how it has actually now got into a technology. While I thought, I'll actually have this question towards the end. Important point is recruiters' capability to shortlist. That's something that you actually touched upon. That's also interesting, because if recruiter, if they have eyes and if they're not willing to see it, then it's as equivalent as, so which means the talent is there, but then I do not know how to actually look into it. A completely different perspective, Mr. Suhas. Yeah. Any views, Mr. Subramanian and Ms. Renu?
So I'll add something that, while I agree with Suhas fully, I would say that still there, I would still believe, and it's not a binary, I still believe that there is a talent shortage. And why I'm saying so, it is maybe not real, but it is visible. Why? Because of the organization, for various reasons. One is about the organization appetite for quality hiring. There are organizations generally, when you talk to the hiring manager and you ask them what is the timeline, they said as on yesterday. So you are just running against, you're against time, and so you do a very shoddy job of, just going for some referral candidates who are there. You just go for somebody who was an alumni, alum, and working in some other industry student, try to poach and jack up the price, and you use the same. So in our organization, in our sector, we have seen that people just move in those 5 or 3 multinational companies, so 2 or 3 year stint here, then go to the other company, then go to the other company, and so on. And I don't think that a lot of skill building is happening. So it's important, where I agree with Mr. Suhas, that we should look for talent across, as if it's one single seamless entity. But then there are many bottlenecks, and since the pressure is so high in terms of lateral hiring, where you want it as the talent as on yesterday, you don't want to maybe pay for relocation, and you don't see beyond a resume at times. That could be the reason that why we always feel that there is a talent shortage, because we are seeing the same people again and again.
Completely a different perspective from your experience, Ms. Renu. Yeah, let's also hear from Mr. Subramanian.
So I think both Suhas and Renu, I think they had their take, and both the takes are actually valid. And I think the truth is somewhere in between. I think Suhas pointed out that in a country like India, is there really a talent shortage? And Renu articulated by saying certain number of talent shortages there. I think in India, the way I see it is, there is, as a talent, we don't have shortage, but employable talent, I think there is a little bit of shortage. Now, I will not attribute it to industry alone, but I have a feeling that there is a lot that we need to do. Like I think Suhas was mentioning about finishing school, what kind of grooming, how is the how well are we tied up with educational institutes? Are they grooming their students for the industry? Which is eventually where a lot of people end up. So I think there is a lot of work to be done. Of course, Skill India and a lot of NGOs and a lot of there are definitely, a lot of people get employed and then they polish their skills. But I think that the truth is somewhere between what Suhas and Renu are trying to say, that we have excellent talent, but we need a lot of employable talent which can be groomed for the industry. I think that is where I think this campus to corporate kind of programs are helpful.
Superb. So we have one person touching upon kind of a technological progress that has actually happened. One person spoke about the kind of challenges that we have at this point from the talent shortage. And then now you're actually touching upon, okay, is it employable? Okay, great, superb. I think all these are actually a common challenges that we are actually facing, and then we are trying to find out, because for each of you are from different industries, when we actually combine together, the experience and the insight that are coming in is very enriching. Okay, now with this, Mr. Subramanian, while we are actually talking about employable talent or not, are we sure that, okay, are we adequately addressing the changing needs of the multi-generational workforce that are coming in? So what are your insights? Because when we say that, okay, it's actually kind of a employable talent, and now here comes a because what all of us possess 20 plus years of experience, what you are seeing about as an experience for us and things what is currently happening completely changing. Yeah. And with multi-generational workforce coming in, it's better I listen from you as well.
So I think this is a very important point. I think for HR professionals, it becomes even more important because every generation is different. Their values are different. What they look forward to is different. So it's, I think, very important. Also, this whole, when we talk about multi-generation, there are some definitions, but even these definitions are not consistent across. So typically there is this baby boomers, there is Gen X, there's Gen Y, and Gen Z or millennials. A lot of times they get used interchangeably. Recently, I read children born after 2012 will be called Gen Alpha. So I think we are at a stage where baby boomers, Gen X and Gen Y are actively working at workforce, and millennials are slowly making their way in. And with these different age groups of employees coming to work, the challenges are definitely going to be different for HR people. And one of the biggest challenge is how do we keep each generation of workforce engaged with the organization? Because everyone has different take. Like it clearly shows that a millennial will change at least 4 jobs before they turn 30. This is the data that is proven. So, but if a person who's interviewing the millennial is looking for stability, I think it is going to be a little tough to see on the resume. So we need to see what is it that an organization needs to do differently to keep that millennial engaged with the organization. So it's a few of the things that, I have seen and I've observed, and we've kind of tried to incorporate within our organization is, of course, I think both Renu and Suhas spoke about the diversity and inclusion bit. So when people of different generations come to workforce, it becomes very important to make, not so much about diversity, but more about inclusion. I think you would have seen so many times the older generation is used to respect and the younger generation is more used to logical thinking. So are people of all ages, do they feel valued and heard in an organization? Post-COVID, we've been also seeing a lot of, at all generations, of course, this is happening, but the older generation used to, we used to coming to work. There's an office timing to start. There's an office timing that, this is something that flexible work arrangements is becoming more and more important for the younger generation, especially post-COVID. I've seen it's become even more important. important. So what is the kind of work-life balance? I mean, do we have off days? What is the policies around leave? So these remote working policies. So these are all elements that until few years back was not very clearly etched out. But nowadays, when people come for an interview, they want to know about what are our policies in these aspects. Then how is the mentoring program within the organization? Are the younger generation being mentored effectively? Even something as simple as learning and development. We've seen a huge change in learning and development. I mean, until a few years back, it was all, classroom type training. Now everything post-COVID also, but increasingly it's all moving to digital learning modes. People are, you get a link and everybody is reading online suddenly. So it is like what kind of benefits, what is the kind of communication? I mean, we used to a certain type of communication. Nowadays we've seen so much of real-time communication over WhatsApp, over so many real-time. Again, the Zoom meeting is one such communication. What is the communication style that organization is adopting? So I think it's a whole lot of thinking, and every dimension from succession planning to everything is changing much faster than we anticipated with the change in the generation of workforce that's coming in. And every organization is dealing with it differently, but everybody is actually dealing with it because we have no choice but to deal with it. So that's my take on it.
No, that's a great insight, Subramanian. In fact, before actually me going to Renu and Suhas, as you rightly said, the expectations are changing, widely changing. In fact, even with whoever that we interview, the first question, are you 5 days working? Okay, will I leave by 6 o'clock? Will I get any calls or emails after that? So it's like the expectations are from the other side. So just a sub question.
But you know what is the funny part is if the person who's sitting on the other side is from a baby boomer generation who's used to coming every day to work and even working on a Saturday and things like that, and if these questions are asked, I think that person gets a heart attack because he's not used to this kind of questions, right? So I think training the baby boomers or even so to a certain extent Gen X that it is okay for people to ask these questions and that is not reflecting their commitment to the job, I think is equally important.
Yeah, I think this is completely a different perspective again. Instead of setting the expectation with the person who is getting interviewed, we are actually saying that, okay, is the baby boomer is actually having the right expectations? Is he being trained? So superb. Ms. Renu and Suhas, maybe your views.
I think I would agree with what he said. We are in interesting times. Yeah, but I think all said and done, yes, there are themes which are very definitive for a generation. I think you can find people with different traits in all generations. But I agree that people now with a lot of awareness around personal space, personal life, having time for development of personal faculties or you can call them interest, social interest, and so on. I think employees are asking for flexibility, and I think we should build such organizations where we are able to have flexible, so that people can enjoy their work more, and lead a very meaningful life or purposeful life.
True. We create a conducive environment for them to actually enjoy the work so that they're with us. Oh, great point. And just again on the same point, like how I asked, are the organizations are getting geared up for this kind of practices? That okay to create that kind of a fun-filled environment to cater to those kind of people. Just your thoughts, maybe.
I would say yes and no, because there are all kind of organizations. There are discussions happening in many organizations around this. But then, as we say that many men are on different generations, so there is suddenly a pullback also. So we all go and accept, in the COVID time, we all said that we will not have those kind of offices, physical offices. We will definitely have work from home. But now we see that it is mostly managers who are saying that no, bring them back, and performance management also is now taking place with this idea as if the physical presence is very important. So I think there's a struggle going on in the organization. There's a lot of debate happening about how do we have the right connect with people. And I agree with that, because you can't connect with an image, So if you have new employers or new employees who have joined and they've always been on work from home, then they don't know you as a person and you don't know them as a person. So it's important to have a right, mix, or you can say hybrid. And hybrid can be defined in various different ways by different organizations.
Great. Look forward from Suhas.
I think for me to really talk about this multi-generations thing, it's not very unique or a new concept. Look at our state government, central government, and public sector PSUs. They've been having these multi-generations work timings and forces in each of their organizations. I mean, we talk about all the state, central, and PSUs recruiting about 50 lakh people, anything between 35 to 50 lakh people in various roles and age not exceeding 27 years into different departments and different roles over the last so many segments. There are generations which are retiring, but there are generations, the newer generations which are coming into the forces as well. What is very important is in the private sector, acceptance of this multi-generational thing is a key, and it's a responsibility of an HR trying to understand is how do you build different set of needs for different set of generations. When I talk about the skill building, I talk in terms of life skills for your millennials and your Gen X people to say what it really means through, and it is earning skills for your baby boomers who are in the in the last half a decade of retirements, and they need to plan how they're going to continue their set of earnings. So it is important that HR plays a greater role in understanding this set of needs, be part of it than a part of each of these generational groups, and understand how they can facilitate these customized needs for these each segment of people. And great lessons can be learned from our public sectors, and great lessons can be learned from our government and state governments around, because for decades and decades they've been having multi-generations people working for them. And yes, today private sector in India has been seeing it. I don't think so it's a new concept, but yes, we need, as an HR fraternity, need to expand our tentacles, get network with our public sector HR professionals, and understand how they really went about handling these systems. And it is only way where you build a very strong, inclusive corporate culture. That's a key aspect of it. And your practices would be just not an initiative of D&I. Your practices should be an honest approach to inclusiveness. And that's where you need to build. And in private sector, they have not yet built the honest approaches to the inclusiveness. And if you take 95% of corporates in their value systems and core values and etc., there's a very little spoken about inclusiveness, and very little is being done in their cultural trainings on inclusiveness. So that's something which has to change, and it's changing. I won't say there's a resistance for it and etc. In the last 3 years, there's a tremendous amount of the change that's really been brought into the private sector.
No, I think well said and rightly articulated, Mr. Suhas, because we actually touched upon three things now. One, the kind of public sector. Second, in terms of the MNC culture that what we have. And third, now something that we are actually seeing is actually a startup culture. Because in the last 6 to 7 years, the startup has actually changed the way how things are actually working. So somebody who has worked in startup, and even when they actually come to us for an interview, it's completely different. The expectations are different. And as Ms. Renu and Mr. Subramanian said, looks like, okay, we are in that evolving phase. Earlier, we used to take a lot of time for actually changing some of these practices. Now it looks like, okay, we are also flexible, and some of the recommendation goes instantaneously. Great. I think it's a great point of actually discussion onto this topic. Okay, great. So now, instead of me actually now being okay, fine, this question is for this person, I thought, okay, let me actually do a kind of unconventional way of asking a question. So what I will do is, I'll just take a kind of a picture precisely from your industry, what is actually all about. A question can be framed over there. In fact, I've actually typed the question already there. Let me actually share one. I have actually designed one for each of you. So I'll start with this so that you can actually see this. Ms. Renu, this question is to you. This is the screenshot from your website, DB Shankar. So we all know that DB Shankar is headquartered out of Germany, and you have presence in more than about 130 countries. So when I was actually going through that, it gave me a very interesting perspective. Because when you're operating in so many countries, I'm sure you will be going through a lot of challenges, best practices, everything. So the question is, while I've written here, what kind of best practices that you actually take it from the global side, or is it a vice versa? Is any of the best practices from India is actually taken to the global side? Because your HR community within DB Shankar itself is like global in nature. You have you must be having your peers across, and you will have regional based heads. So we just want to take your insights from how things are actually been seen in this perspective.
Yeah, it's a good question, and very interesting way of putting it up. Yeah. So yes, so I would say that yes, we have a lot of exchange. We have various forums in the organization where the global P&O community exchanges problems. So if an organization has some problem, they would not like to reinvent the wheel. They would put the problem, and if in other country organization they have done a solution around that, they would write the solution, and then a decision is taken whether we can and amplify the solution, or kind of increase the give the solution to entire organization. But talking about what are the best practices that we have imbibed from the global world of Shankar, or from our customers in particular, I think we have worked with the best customers, and we are a leading organization. So practices around hiring are very much around no discrimination and equal opportunity. I think this is the flavor of the time, and we believe in that, which means our job application form has no space for a picture. We don't ask for a picture. We don't ask for the data like about gender. We don't ask age, and we would like to have least discrimination. Now, one can debate that when you are interviewing the person, you can obviously second guess the age, but that is one thing. But we don't allow people to even write down, because there is no space, or there's no field column for that. Rather, we have a policy that in the workforce, in the warehouses, if we have a child labor who has been brought by the vendor, then we are required to rehabilitate, because is that just saying the vendor, why have you brought the child labor? But then the problem is shifting to somewhere. So in a policy, we say that as an organization, we would work with the vendor to ensure the child is properly rehabilitated and his or her education is taken care of for a certain number of years. We also can't ask questions around family. So earlier we had an application form where we were asking your father's name, father's occupation, mother's occupation, spouse occupation. But then we believe that these are something which is also indicating the socioeconomic status of the person. So you have two candidates, one whose father or mother is a social working in a government sector or are medicos and so on, and the other one is maybe a farmer's child. So in any case, wherever your biases lie in favor of whichever, we don't ask such questions. We are also not allowed to ask these kind of personal questions. So this is a best practice that we have learned, and we have kind of trained our hiring managers, and there was a lot of discomfort around this, because we are so habitual to ask about family background. So we can't ask, and we can't take any decision around asking on that question. We do assessment which are like the same assessment test which are being done at global level. One of the best practices that we have a lot of focus on internal hirings, internal talent. So while we have various business units, and we know that HODs of one business unit are very protective about their talent, they would not like to lose them internally, because they don't want to. They would believe that we have done so much for the talent by training, why we are losing it to the other business unit. But we have a system of asking or raising the internal job posting employees can apply. They are not required to copy in their managers, but they are encouraged to talk to their managers. We have a hiring focus around diversity, and diversity is not around gender only, it's around various other demographics. We have not reached the stage of maybe cognitive diversity in fully, but we do encourage diversity in terms of people with disability, with different communities, different sexual orientation, and so on. And we have signed up also with an agency to help us hire transgenders, and we have run sensitization program for the immediate manager and the immediate team, and also for the very senior team, so that there is a welcoming for any employee, including those employees, and there is a more acceptance and more inclusion in the organization. So these are the kind of practices that we have also learned from our global world and from other organizations. I hope you found them interesting.
Oh yeah, really interesting. In fact, people who are going to listen to this at a later point of time, definitely they will have kind of a wow factor, because coming from India and being part of many interviews and with many clients, I don't think I've not seen anyone actually stopping asking about personal background. So somewhere, I think that's a great initiative, or maybe it's a great best practice that you actually gotten. I'm sure not many companies would be aware of this. Yeah, what you said is right. The bias actually completely gets removed, because when you see something of, this region people, they'll be better. Oh, this girl of, so much of age, okay, they'll be smart.
Yeah.
From institution, they'll be smart. So the unconditional bias is actually start stepping in, and if you actually overcome this in this form, and if it is actually globally being followed, really a great information for all of us. And the second point, what you rightly said, training the hiring manager is important, because when you're so used to this form, it's not only the recruitment, but also the training the hiring manager is absolutely important, because unknowingly somewhere or the other you will get into that bias mode. I think there are a lot of things that you were actually speaking about, the IJP part, no manager approvals. I think few of the companies have implemented in India, but not many. That's again a great point. The hiring transgenders. Very recently, this has slightly started picking up, but then not many has actually implemented it. But yeah, I think it was a great answer, Ms. Renu. Super great insights. So thanks for this. So with Mr. Subramanian, I don't want to extend the same question. Rather, I actually want to get into your industry specific. I'm just sharing a pictorial form. Just a second. Yeah. So, Mr. Subramanian, this is the picture of somebody working in a tunnel site. So we all know that, Keller is not into the very traditional way of construction, but the construction of, the word is also very interesting word, geotechnical constructions. That's a great word, because that's also first time I'm actually getting to know that, because I never knew that, there's a word for such things. So when you have this geotechnical constructions in the form of these dams and tunnels, so how do you actually attract talents in these kind of diverse projects? Because these are all kind of like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and then you will have to set up a livelihood for them. So what kind of things that actually gets involved with it? And we would like to hear from your best practices, or maybe your views.
Sure. So, like you rightly said, this is a special construction sector, and what better time than now to be in infrastructure, because you've seen that with a stable government, there's been a lot of focus on infrastructure. So a country like India automatically becomes, for a global organization like Keller, a country like India is a high focus country because of the kind of spend that the government has earmarked for infrastructure. If you see, each state has, everybody's coming up with metro. Everywhere there's construction happening. Yeah. So I think I couldn't have asked for a better time to be in this sector than now. Yeah. So this has been almost like a blessing. And also, as an organization, we are closely. We are very networked, within the other with other geographies. Like I think like NEOM. You would have heard of this big city that Saudi Arabia is building. So many Indian talent we've sent to that project in NEOM, and that's because it's a prestigious project, but it is also the kind of exposure that that our talent is getting there. At the same time, if you see Middle East, a lot of Indian talent, like you say, they're like really a hot pick in any of the Middle Eastern project, whether it's Dubai, whether it is Kuwait, anywhere they're picked. There is also a lot of demand, and I think we already have a lot of Indian population working in Singapore, Malaysia. Increasingly, Australia is becoming slightly more open to kind of accepting Indian talent. So I feel in terms of construction, not only India is in an amazing spot right now, but also outside of India, there's a huge opportunity for Indian talent. And this is where our biggest strength of being the most populous country comes in. Yeah. So this is the biggest advantage. And the only thing that is needed, and I think you also touched upon the blue collared jobs. I think there's a huge potential, and construction industry has a huge capability to absorb this. All it needs is a little more tweaking and direction. So that is one. And how do we kind of attract and retain? I think, while the industry is different, at the end of the day, at the heart, we're all attracting other human beings to come and work with us. So a lot depends on what kind of it's not very different from what other industries face. It is what kind of environment you provide. Like, do we have the basics right? When you're attracting blue collared workers and when you're attracting other talent, which could also be white collar, what is the work environment you're offering? What is the visibility on career path you're offering? What is the global mobility you're offering? So these things become important. Apart from that, we would have seen, and I think my other colleagues will also agree that compensation is very, very important. And while India still remains one of the most cost-effective country, but Indian talent is so much in demand nowadays that if we don't align the compensation within the country, any other country is willing to easily pick our talent. So this becomes very important as well. And I think it's if you ask me, are the challenges in geotechnical drastically different from other industries? No. India also, we are very fortunate to have a lot of engineering graduates because geotechnical is just an extended stream of civil engineering. Yeah, so it's a super special stream of civil engineering. So a lot of civil engineering graduates, a lot of graduates who from IIT and other NITs that go on to study geotechnical engineering. There's a huge potential for this. These kind of we do a lot of internship programs. We have an excellent, educational tie-ups. We not only because we need to attract students from here, but even for consultation of these projects, these mega scale projects that you're talking about, we need professors from NITs and IITs who act as a final checkpoint between us and the client. So sometimes when we give a solution and the client wants to validate our solution, he will go back to a professor in IIT to check whether this solution is the most optimal solution. So it is something that, by default, we need to make sure that our working relationship with it, and when we also hire, we do a lot of campus programs where we talk to them about the opportunities that exist in the geotechnical space. So there is one thing which I have realized with my almost 5 years with Keller is it's an amazing sector to be in. However, what I feel is it's best when we hire talent at the entry level and groom them to take on leadership roles because it's a specialized field. So what it takes for people to be successful is best when we hire them young and groom them to grow. And the biggest example is probably the MD for Keller in India. He joined from IIT 22 years back. And he joined us probably at GET, and today he's the MD for Keller in India. So this is the way probably talent grows in this sector. So that's how it is.
No, amazing. I thought, okay, maybe some of the projects in India that you might touch upon, but then you touched upon something in NEOM as well. I heard that Saudi Arabia, they actually want to diversify from the oil projects towards the I still remember something called as a floating industrial hub, which was like, maybe we would have heard of floating resorts, but then floating industrial hub was like something. And then when you do such projects, I think, the getting a talent and they actually growing along with until the project also gets smooth. Yeah, it's great insights, Subramanian. I think really it's an insightful aspect that you actually gave it to us.
Thank you.
With this, I'll move on to Mr. Suhas. I'll just so Mr. Suhas, I'm not sure this is directly to the EV part, but we know that a EV charging station is getting implemented and people are actually working on this project. So the question is simple. While EV, IoT, everything is actually a kind of a latest trends in the technological space. How do you actually get talent over this particular field? Because when we actually speak about a blue collar, they come and do specific work. But here, for example, when the telecom companies were growing up, say, for example, during the period of 2009, 2003, the cell site engineers were actually playing a major role, because when they were deploying a cell site and maintaining, that's something new in India. Similarly, now these EV charging stations, we want to hear from your experience and insights, Mr. Suhas.
What is the key aspect of the skills in our entire ecosystem largely is in terms of building an BMS on a battery. BMS is the one which gives you a lot of data analytics, tells you the speed at which the vehicle is going, the condition of the battery, condition of the vehicle, the route maps, and some of the behaviors of the riders, and etc. Okay. Now, to build that entire concept of BMS, India has hardly any talent about 3-4 years back, if you to talk about. We partnered with the SIX of Japan. We got the technology, we got even the training capabilities and etc. into India. And we trained quite a few people. And today, I think most battery manufacturing companies, by and large, have done the similar, either from China or Korea or Japan. They got their talent pool of electronics engineers, trained on it. And today, I don't think so there would be a dearth of that resources. Yes, it's a question of who's giving better benefits and better compensation structures, because there's more and more players have come into this space and more engineers who got trained onto it. That the first skills is a BMS. The second skill comes in terms of how do I manage a remote charging tower without any human resources on site? And that's our approach. That's where IoT comes into place. It's like your telecom NOC, how it is managed in a central location. You're able to manage your entire towers and troubleshoot it from a central place. We are also building for charging stations and NOC. It's going to be a central networking thing through an IoT. From the time a vehicle enters into the space of the charging station, it gets on the vehicle numbers and the individual mobile numbers and their credit cards, etc., all get tagged on till the vehicle leaves the premises. So there's no human intervention. And also the maintenance of these towers to be done remotely and from a central locations part of it, unless there's a major shutdowns of the towers and etc. So this is what we're trying to do. In terms of IoT technology, I think India has the been having the technology, and it works on Python. It works on PHP, some of those technologies which has been really working on, and so thereby it has been that part of the technology has been very comfortable for us to really source through. The large part of our next segment is getting resources to do our last mile delivery process. And that's where we work with Skill India. We go into remote villages, train the talent and pools who use us on our network for almost 12 to 14 months, and we're able to retain and deliver. So there was dearth, but we worked around in terms of how we train, how we recruit, and what kind of skill mix and matter. And today, I think India has a sufficient resources and talent from the technology perspective in the EV space.
Thank you, Mr. Suhas. I think you actually articulated well, because it's not the talent is available, but they are not skilled, and you are in the process of skilling them, training them, and getting them employable onto this new domain. Yeah, it was a great insight. Thank you so much for joining, all three of you. I wish we could actually gather once again at a later stage on a similar kind of a topic. Thank you so much, Ms. Renu. Thank you so much, Mr. Subramanian, and thank you so much, Mr. Suhas.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be a part of this.
Yeah, I think it's a pleasure to be a part of it. And I think I heard a lot of diverse view from both Mr. Subramaniam and from Mr. Suhas. So very interesting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
everyone. Thanks for
It's been an
joining us.
interesting session.
Thank you.
Thank you.